Ladies and gentlemen, I have a very, very special guest today here on the Will Wonder Pod. Father, producer. You could call him a beat maker, producer, beat maker. Two different things. We'll get into that, I'm very sure. But none other than Salt Lake's own Looney Got Da Tunez. Looney, what's up?
Hey, what's up, Will? Thank you for having me. Appreciate that, man.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for coming through, bro. Or I guess I'm coming through to
Hey,
your studio.
yeah, welcome and happy to be here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is
So,
great, man. This is a
appreciate
beautiful
that.
place. So thank you for having me here.
Yeah, this is the office right here. So,
How many hours per week would you say you're here?
oh man, I'd say on an average maybe like 25 hours.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's what you got to do to
Yeah.
chase that.
Well, and with everything else, being a father and working and, trying to start my own hustle with work and all that. So it's like, that's, I think, the time that goes into here.
Got it.
So
Yeah.
it's good. Keeps me busy.
We're going to get into a lot, man, but what I want to do is and what I like to do with everybody is just go back, right? So let me know a little bit about your childhood. You got brothers and sisters, where you originally from, all that good stuff.
Okay, yeah. So I have one sibling, younger sibling.
Okay.
My brother. Shout out David. And then I grew up in Salt Lake City. I was born in Mexico City.
Okay.
Was raised out here, been here ever since. So this is home to me, my parents, shout out my parents. They've kept me. Well, my dad kept me with the music, involved with the music at a very, very, very early age. So I think he's the reason why I have that passion and that burning desire for music.
Nice.
Not only as a consumer, but also like taking part in music. He had me playing drums at age 6.
Wow.
Yeah, I was could barely see over the drum set, but I was banging
like in an actual in a band?
Yeah.
Damn.
So my dad grew up playing. He's the keyboard.
Okay.
For like Mexican groups.
Got it.
Latin music, Mexican music.
Yeah.
The like regional stuff. So he grew up doing that, and so when I was born, he had to like take me with him, to his gigs and all that stuff. So I was always around it. But it was one day that their drummer didn't show up, and as far as I can remember, I would grab my mom's pots and pans and buckets and just use that as a drum set. So it was always kind of like
making noise.
Yeah, facts. Yeah, to this day. But it was early on that I started with that, and so once I was like 6, something like that, it came that day where the drummer didn't show up, and this is from what I know from him telling me. So,
right.
He didn't show up, and my dad had the idea of having the guys, throw me in there and give me a shot and just see how it goes, because I was always with them.
So would you like hang out like during their practices? So you kind
of a lot of the times, or the actual events that they would go play in. I was 90% of the time I was there.
Okay.
My mom didn't like it very much.
What kind of events were they at? What were they doing?
Like weddings.
Okay.
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
Parties. Paid gigs,
for
different.
A lot of quinces.
Mostly.
I've DJ'd a bunch.
It's a big
beautiful
day.
Band.
Yeah. That type of stuff was always, I was always around it, and so again, when that day came, they gave me a shot, and I did good, I guess. So they kept me involved, and I was going with them to the gigs not long after that. And so that's kind of where that started,
That's awesome.
Yeah, and so once I got older, I met a friend at Kearns Junior High. We used to call him Spike. If you watch this, thank you. So Spike is the one that introduced me to EJ. It was mostly like a loop software where you just there were like presets, pre-recorded loops. There were no kits or anything like that, that you could download like nowadays. So it was pretty much all built in. And I was hanging out with him one day, and we were in this room and that's what he was doing. I was like, holy shit, I was like blown away. I was like, damn, like that's cool. And started showing me, started hanging out with him more. And then eventually I moved out from Kearns. So me and him didn't really get to hang out much, but that always stuck with me.
Stuck
So
with
when
you.
I thought about, trying it, I went
Yeah.
out and bought it and just started being hands on with it. And so from then
Wow.
it was different. I was like, holy shit, like I don't have to actually like play a drum set and be loud.
Right.
It was more like it was different. It was a lot different. So I was blown away by it, and I just started, playing around with it, Finally, kind of figured it out, and so from then on, it was kind of like always a thing for me to do. Never really was like super involved or like wanting to pursue that necessarily.
More just like
It was
hobby.
more of a hobby, more of
Yeah.
something that I liked doing. Um, but it wasn't until later on that me and some friends was kind of like freestyling, trying to rap and stuff like that. And then this was later on. This was back where I guess at the point when YouTube beats started becoming a thing. YouTube was starting to come around.
Yeah.
Um, that I actually started making beats like with the purpose of us rapping on them. So
Got
it was a little bit different than just doing it for fun,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And then from then on, it just kind of became a more frequent thing to do.
Okay.
And then ever since, it's just been kind of
Grown.
growing, learning, still learning to this
Right.
day.
Yeah.
I feel like you can never stop learning with that kind of shit. It's just so much
Oh, yeah.
to take in. It's crazy.
Yeah. We'll get into that
Yeah.
in a little bit. I want to take a step back. You talked
Mhm.
about your parents. You were born in Mexico City.
Right.
What brought your parents to the States, and specifically what brought them to Utah?
Family.
Okay.
Family that was here. Back where my dad's from is a state called Oaxaca. It's a very indigenous place. Um, it's like part of the Mayan ruins and the whole Aztec thing from back in the day. So it's like very, um, what's the word? Very, it's just different. Like they don't
Right.
even have TVs
Yeah.
or bathrooms a lot of the times,
Yeah.
So it's like there was always people that would go out from here over there to visit. And so I would always like see them, driving their trucks and stuff like that, from what I remember. And so that's kind of what brought them out here, is just that connection with family that was already here, wanting better, obviously. Um, so that was back in like 96, 97, maybe.
Okay. How old were you?
I was like probably like 8, 9.
Got it.
Something like
Was
that.
that a hard transition for you coming here, like from that type of? Well, Mexico City's different, right? But like,
Yeah.
what coming to the States? I like to ask a lot of people this, no matter what country they come from. But what was that first 6 months like for you, if you can remember? 8
From
years
what
old.
I can remember, it was a lot different. Obviously, the language, big change right there. But I remember a lot of snow. So
Yeah.
when I started going to school, I remember there was days where it was like knee high,
Right.
and it's like obviously I was little, but it was just a lot of snow all the time. So that was very cool for me. The restaurants, burgers, when I first had a burger, that was cool.
You're
It
looking
was
around like,
good.
no
The
wonder all these
smell, that
people are
smell,
fat.
like I don't get that smell no more.
Oh, yeah.
It's different,
Right.
or maybe just from it being so new to me, it was just like that smell.
Oh, I
It
can
was,
imagine. Yeah.
it was good. But that was probably one of the biggest things that was different for me. Obviously meeting people and getting to know people, and that the language barrier. But it was good. I liked it. I liked how kids had different ways of like playing, it was just so different. Over there, it was just mostly soccer out on the road.
Got it.
You know.
Yeah.
And so just to see all that different stuff, it was good. It was cool.
Um, the language barrier. How long did that take you to overcome?
I would say by the time I was like in fifth grade, sixth grade, I was pretty good at it. I could have a conversation and stuff, and um, so it didn't take very long. Um, I had cousins here that we were staying with at the time that grew up out here, so it was like
Helped you
they
out
didn't
with
know
it.
Spanish,
Oh, okay.
so
Okay.
that at home there was also a language
Damn.
thing at home too. So, but Spanish is always there, but living with them, it was also easier on me to learn and to kind of watch and hear and see, So it didn't take very long.
That's good.
Yeah.
To have people close to your age too probably made it a little bit easier just to
Yeah.
like, make friends and what
Right.
have you.
Yeah, they
So-
were. So, and they would always like carpool. So I was always around a big group of kids and stuff. So I was never really like by myself or, I think that would have been a little bit harder. If I would have been like shy and kind of, hid away from it, but it was the total opposite. So that helped.
Going into, you're here, you're in Utah, starting to get more comfortable. Outside of, your passion for music, playing in your dad's band, what else did you like to do as a kid?
Soccer was big. I played soccer throughout middle school, some high school, and even as an adult, I still play. But yeah, that was for me. That was a thing that I would always do. I guess even when I'm, during school, after school. Um, that was probably the main thing. It wasn't until I got older that other sports started to grow on me, but I'm a big sports guy, so that was like if it wasn't music, it was sports.
Got it.
Yeah.
Soccer. We were talking before we started recording. I tell you, my son's playing, and it's
Yeah.
getting me more into it. And I never played soccer, but I don't
Okay.
know if you're familiar with Macon.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, I busted his ass
That's the homie.
at a workout, and he'll tell you about it too. That's why he doesn't come back.
I see.
In
He's
soccer,
been quiet.
in
Yeah.
soccer. Like, I mean, everything else, it's whatever. But yeah, anyways, that's just a sidebar right there.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah,
Hell
ask him.
yeah.
We'll text him after this.
I
So you
love
get
it.
into, you get into junior high school. Actually, before we get to that, I want to get an idea of when hip hop comes into play,
Oh, okay.
right? So if you're playing in your dad's band, is it cumbia? What kind of
Yeah,
music?
mostly.
Okay.
Mostly.
So not the most difficult transition into hip hop, right? As far as like musically at times, right?
Yes and no.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, obviously the genre is different, the instrumentation's different. But having that rhythmic, I guess, count on the beat itself. Because I feel that's 9 times out of 10, that's the heart of the song. It's the drums, the rhythm that you're getting from it, the groove or whatnot. So that was, I guess, easy for me to kind of, go from that to rap or hip hop. But I think it came around like seventh grade when I moved to Kearns is when. So when I first got to Utah, I lived in West Valley, right in front of Hunter. No, not Hunter. Kennedy.
Okay, Kennedy Junior High.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Mhm.
And so then, when I moved to Kearns, it was the start of middle school, so seventh grade for me, and that's when the whole change of scenery was like. It was all so different.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
I had
for
to
sure.
readjust.
Yeah.
In a sense where the people were different. There was older kids, obviously that they have an influence on the up and coming kids that are, growing up. So that whole thing was different. I started hanging out with the older guys, older crowd. And so that's when rap was introduced to me. And it was Mac Mall that I first heard, and Richie Rich,
Got it.
Seasoned Veteran was the album.
Okay.
And there was a girl that would go to school and she would always play that CD. So it was then that I started hearing that, and I was like I liked it. I fell in love with it because it was just so different. The rhythm was so different, and I was just like, oh, like, what is this? And so I started listening to it. I borrowed it from her. And then it was those two, and then I heard Dre from one of my uncles was playing that album, and
Was it Chronic or Chronic
it was the
2001?
Chronic, the
Okay.
first one.
Okay.
Yeah, and so from then after that, it was just like every day, every
Yeah.
day, every day, every day, and so after that, I kind of started just listening to other stuff. DJ Quick was one of the very first artists that I also got into. And then NWA, because just they were starting to become bigger, so you started hearing them, seeing more.
Yeah.
And then from then on, I just went down the rabbit hole. And I'm the type of person that I like to know who's behind it, like the credits, like we were saying.
Yeah.
When I bought a CD, it was always like that was the first thing is going through it and see who's there and what's there and all that. And then let's see, after that, it was Tupac that I heard after that. And then it was just no going back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel you. I was, when you and I had talked about a very similar trajectory with the Chronic, but I was so young hearing it.
Yeah.
I was like, I think I was 6 when I have a brother who's 10 years older than me, and he would just play the shit out of that album. And I just remember thinking wow, this is so it just, everything goes together so perfect. Like the only album I had heard before that was similar, wasn't even a hip hop album, but my dad was a big classic rock type of dude.
Yeah.
So Pink Floyd's The Wall, how all of those songs intertwine, and it's like you don't know. You know what I'm saying? If you just sit there and listen,
you think it's the same one.
You think it's just an extension of the last or whatever. But that's what I loved about the Chronic.
Yeah, definitely.
Just one of those albums. All right, so you get introduced to EJ, start running loops and doing things like that. I think somewhere around here from you and I talking before, you have your first child, right? At a younger age. So so you were kind of just doing this EJ fun, make beats as a hobby type of thing, right?
Just like a pastime, hanging out with my buddy.
And then you have your son, right? Oldest, your son.
Yeah.
What at what age were you?
I was 16.
So when this happens, what's going through your mind?
Oh man, unexpected as fuck, because young. And funny thing is, we mentioned quinceañeras earlier, and so when I first started dating her, she was about to have hers.
Got it.
Right?
Yeah.
And maybe 3 months after that day, she was pregnant.
Yeah.
So it was her dad went from oh yeah, hey, what's up, coming in, to you better not come in my fucking house type shit. Real quick.
Yeah, that's tough.
So it was just it was hard. It was unexpected. Changed everything. And yeah, I mean, I was young. I dropped out of school for good. Started working, and just try to be the dad, as such. I wasn't even.
You mean you're a kid?
I'm a kid myself, and now I got to look after another one. It's holy shit, what am I gonna do? Type stuff.
Yeah.
Luckily, my parents were always very supportive. My dad, so
that's good. Yeah,
that was a good thing that they were on my side, and they didn't just kind of left me for dead in a sense. So yeah, but it was tough, man.
I can't imagine, bro. Because I have my son, as we talked about, and I'm 37 now.
Yeah.
And when I had him, I was like, holy shit. I mean, we were trying to have him, right?
Right. But even then, it was when it comes, it's holy shit.
I'm 32 years old, and I'm
what now, right?
Yeah. It's wild.
Yeah, man. Congrats on that.
Yeah, thank you.
Kids are awesome. I don't think I would change anything about that. I think everything was kind of meant to be in a way, and Yeah,
I mean, it makes you who you
it was
are.
good. It does.
You
It
know?
builds character.
Yeah.
You know, personality and it kind of molds you into, you know, being a good person, being a good father. So
It says a lot about your character because a lot of, 16, 15, 16, 17-year-old guys would have ran from that.
yeah, and
You know what I mean?
I was and I was familiar with that
Yeah.
even at the time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it not only was the right thing to do, and I was being told that that was the right thing to do, obviously from my parents, but um, I never really thought about that. Even back then, I was like, I owned up to it. You know, I had to face her dad and her brothers, and
Oh, shit.
so it was like, yeah, dude,
Man.
her dad was
Yeah, I can,
he wanted to come after me,
Yeah, yeah.
big time, but her brother knew of the situation. He kind of helped the situation because he would let her drive his car, and
Oh,
so
okay.
you know she was pulling up at my house and all
Got
that.
it.
So he was like really like trying not to have it go that far because he knew, or at least he thought this was a possibility, right? And it ended up happening. So, but yeah, I mean, it is what it is. But it was life changing, also. You know, just being so young and having to deal with that and prepare for that. I don't think you ever get ready for that.
No.
Even when, like you say, you were
Yeah.
planning that, but when the day came, it was probably like,
Yeah,
right?
I was terrified.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. How's your relationship with your son now? Like, because I'm assuming he's what, probably like 18.
he's 18. Yeah, 18. It's good. It's good, but I do wish it was better. There was some rocky times. And I think that also came from just being so young.
Sure.
You know, obviously his mom and I never really got to be a family like like you'd want. And so I think that definitely plays a role. And so we keep in touch, but I wish we could spend more time together. He's
Yeah.
growing up. He's working.
Now
he's doing
he's
his own
He's
thing.
becoming his own man now.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, we talk. We're good, but I do wish we can spend more time together.
Yeah, I mean, you were just saying how fast before we were recording, just
Yeah.
like those moments, and we were talking about that. You
Yeah.
know, being away from your kids, and it's like I can't believe my son's 5, and you have a daughter that's 5 as well.
Yep. She's
Yeah.
gonna be 5 next month, September.
Sheesh.
So she, her also. It was like just not long ago that she was in my arms, and now she's driving me crazy.
I feel you.
But she's great. She's a good girl. And it keeps me grounded because it was the age difference. It's so large that it was like starting over.
Yeah.
And even like you say with her, it was kind of like a thought of, oh, maybe we can, whatever. And when it happened, it was like, oh shit, oh fuck, like what do we do now?
It's like,
and
damn,
now
diapers
it's
got
like,
more
yeah.
expensive from 18 years ago.
Yeah. So time flies, man.
Yeah.
But
No doubt.
it's super fun.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm
good,
sure you
good.
know. There's those days that it's just like, but then there's those days where it's just like, you couldn't ask for more.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing about being a parent is like they'll do something to where you're like, I want to just flick you right in the middle of your forehead. And then an hour later, they do something else to where
Yeah.
you're like, man, I would do
Right.
anything for you.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It's crazy.
That
It's a
love
roller
is
coaster.
unmatched, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So we get into EJ. Again, we'll bounce all over the place, right?
Yeah,
So you're
yeah,
doing
of
this
course.
EJ stuff, and then you want to start making your own beats because I'm assuming the stuff on YouTube is not just not what you're looking for, but also anyone can use it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's out there. Someone in the city might even use the same beat off of YouTube,
Oh, yeah.
and then what? So you
Hundreds.
start doing your own thing on the production side.
Mm-hmm.
What was your first production tool that you bought? Like, were you an MPC guy? What did you roll with?
It was a MIDI controller.
Okay.
The MPC was something that I always liked, but I never really got into. Until later on, but when I first started like taking it serious and trying to make something out of it. It was mostly just, the computer, and then a MIDI controller. A buddy of mine at the time had one, and so we were using that.
Were you using like FL Studio? What were you using for the?
At that, so it went from EJ. That's when the whole thing started. And then that friend that had the MIDI controller, he would use Reason.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So he was making beats on Reason, and then he went to Live, Ableton. So that was different than what I was used to with the EJ thing. It was more hands-on, more of a creation rather than just pre-made loops, stuff like that, like samples already built in. So it was different. But I got into Fruity Loops, it was called back then.
Yeah.
Fruity Loops, probably like 2-3 years after that.
Were you like most of us and just use the bootleg version, or did you really buy it?
No, I the cracked version.
Okay.
Had to.
Yeah.
Because it's not cheap.
Yeah, I remember getting that off of LimeWire and being like, "Wow,
Yeah,
there's a whole new world over
yeah.
here."
Shout out LimeWire.
Yeah.
They made our lives easier back then. So
Yeah, statute of limitations are well beyond, so we're
yeah,
fine.
yeah. So yeah, it was a couple years later that I learned about that software, and so I got it and started learning with the channel rack is what it's called. Some use the playlist, some use the channel rack. For me, the channel rack was how I learned, so that's what I use. And it's, for me, the workflow is faster and you have more like control and manipulation of the sound.
Mm-hmm.
So the channel rack for me is the way to go in FL Studio. But yeah, man, after that it was just kind of like trying not to use YouTube beats for that reason, that many people have them, and at that point I don't think it's like original,
Right.
in a sense, like. So that was the purpose behind that, and we started just recording our own songs. It was a group that I was part of that was it went by the name of Deadly Combination. There was 4 of us. And then Tupac, that's where it came from. Yeah. And so then I was also part of like another crew, I guess, that would go by Hood Zone down here in Midville. And those were kind of like the beginning days of me like rapping and trying to, record and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So those years kind of taught me a lot as far as like how to record a song, how to write in a 16 bar, verse,
which is
how to construct, where things go and how and why and stuff like that. Because I didn't know that. All I knew was just how to, drum rolls and shit. So it was different. So, to have to like do that hands on and not necessarily be in a band environment, is just you and the computer. It's like you got to play every other band member, so it was different. But yeah, man, I got into it a lot. We started doing like mixtapes. We started doing some shows here locally.
Okay. Around what year is this?
This is around 2008,
Okay.
2009, 10, 11, around those years. And then, you grow older, life happens. I kind of got away from it, from hanging out with people that weren't necessarily into it but other shit, and it got me caught up in other stuff.
Yeah.
Getting in trouble, stuff like that. So that kept me from pursuing it more at the time. So it wasn't until like years later, man, like 2014 maybe. So it was like maybe like a 2-3 year break that I got away from it. And then 2015-16 I was like, I bought the program again, the larger version, the signature bundle is called. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna invest in it. I gotta make something out of it. I can't just buy it and not use it type stuff. So um, I started like making my little home studio at the time. I was living in Provo. And then I think in like 2017, I met UA the duo, Slomo and Wally, and we just kind of took off from there as far as like the chemistry that we had, what the goals those guys had, and the goals that I had were kind of similar. We kind of have the same background in a sense, grew up in the same area, so there was a lot of like familiarity between us.
Yeah.
But
did you know them when you were younger?
No, funny enough,
Okay.
I do have family members that are his family members now through marriage.
Yeah.
But no, I didn't know these guys till then, and then we found out more about how there's a relation there. But yeah. So after I met these guys, I started to like really do it more often, like a daily thing. Like, okay, I got home from work, this is what I'm gonna do, and I just started like just cranking out beats. At the beginning, they weren't the best,
Well, like
because
anything, yeah.
I was rusty,
Yeah.
and it was so new at the time too, because back when I started, there weren't no YouTube tutorials.
Yeah.
There were no loop kits, drum kits, sound kits. There was no splice. There was none of that shit. Like it was just what you had in your mind and the tools you had in front of you, really. So it was so different. I had to like catch up. I had to, learn about the whole YouTube thing. So I started just like a lot of people nowadays. So it was like totally new, even though I was familiar with it. It was new. And so I had to kind of like get with the times, learn how things are being done, and yeah, just kind of go at it. Just go in the gym and start shooting type shit. Just
what was that learning curve like to the point where you felt comfortable in just coming in and being like, okay, I know what I want to do today, so I'm just gonna do it.
It took some time because again, at first the beats that I was making, it wasn't kind of like they weren't really going nowhere, and even these guys, they were kind of like, yeah, there was some time because my brother knew Slow-Mo, and he would tell them about me, like, oh, my brother makes beats, all this stuff. But it wasn't until these guys dropped a project called Bud Brothers that my brother showed me, and I was like, oh, that's cool, and I was like, but I feel like their beats could be better.
Yeah.
And so I reached out. They were down with it. At that point, I had some under my belt. They were good. Yeah. So I showed them. One of them got in the project, and so after that, it was like, okay, like let me see what else I can do. Again, the YouTube thing was constant. Trying to learn.
It's the best schooling you can get for
it
free.
Is, bro. It is. It is. Shout out YouTube because a lot of people,
yeah, they put that on there, and
shout out all the creators too, because I mean, without them, we wouldn't really learn or know, and so yeah, shout out all the creatives out there. But so this was about maybe like a year after I started that I met these guys, that I was just cranking them out. So by the next time I sent them more stuff, they were like, holy shit, like dude, let's meet up, blah blah. And so then we actually met in person, and from there it was just, we've been working now for like 5 years now. So it was just kind of from there, it just kind of took off in a sense where the chemistry started to build. They like a lot of the same artists that I grew up listening. So there was a lot of things that kind of helped build that relationship. And so now, we have the place here, and so we're like 100% dedicated to what we're doing and what we want to do and the goals that we have and all that stuff. So,
and again, this place is great. I'm gonna
thank you.
After we get done, I'm just going to shoot some B-roll. But like you guys have the different places for podcasts or whatever it may be. And, the studio's beautiful. Like,
thank you.
Yeah, definitely. If anyone's looking for a studio to record at, podcast wise, or just if you're trying to be a musician, this is a great spot.
Yeah. Come on by. We'll leave a description or a link somewhere. But
Yeah. I'll leave all that in there. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Thank you. We appreciate that. Slowly but surely building the space, and no longer just for us, but also for other creatives that because there's so many people out here, dude, that have they're talented. They do their podcast stuff. Singers, writers, producers, beat makers, just about everything. Camera guys, like. So we want to be able to help others, and give them a space to do what they need to do.
Yeah, this is a good location too. Like
it's pretty central.
Yeah, central to a lot of different places. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like you don't feel like sometimes you pull up to places that are like supposed to be creative spots, and you're like, damn, I gotta tuck my chain when I walk in here.
Tuck my chain. Yeah.
But it's cool, man. It's a really nice spot for sure. So again, thank you for having me.
Not a problem.
You talk about working with UA the duo.
Mm-hmm.
You guys seem to have a really, really good chemistry, right? And it shows because you've been working for so long as well.
Yeah.
What other artists do you like working with out here in Utah?
Oh man, there's a lot. Well, I've worked with quite a bit of different artists. Obviously, there's a lot of artists out here, and there's some that I would like to work with. But I mean, obviously, these guys, the guys at Pura Vida, Glocko, Lalo, and them. I've worked with them in different occasions. Santos is also another one. We're buddies and stuff. So Macon, I've worked with him. Gabino, Zazilla, who else? Saviola, Cassius Play. Who else? It's so hard to remember. 420 V Boys.
When you're working with these guys, like obviously outside of UA the duo, do you prefer being in the studio with them and try to like think up a song, or is it more like they're like, hey, can you send me some beats? Like what is I guess number one, what is the situation like, but what's your ideal situation? How would you want to have it?
A lot of the times I send over beats.
Okay.
Just because when I'm making a beat, for example, there's always someone that comes to mind. And so when that happens, I'd like to reach out and be like, hey, I got this, and that, And so that's kind of like the initial thing a lot of the times. But I like being in the same room, same setting, because those organic ideas are always the best, I feel like, so when it just comes. You kind of gotta go with it, see what happens, because sometimes those ideas are hard to recreate. Let's say now you're thinking about something, and then you're like, okay, and then don't think much of it, and then later on you try to redo it, and it's just gone.
Yeah.
It's not the same. So that's always good. I prefer that. But I also like working alone. Like when I'm making beats, a lot of the times I prefer to be alone, just because I feel like I get more done. Not because I don't like people in the room, but I get distracted easily. And so when I'm here by myself, I tell myself, okay, I got 3 unfinished beats, and I want to finish all those 3. And so it happens. I'll do it. But at times when the other guys show up and everybody's here, I can't do that.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah, because you have that. They might not be focused on the exact same thing that you're focused on,
right? And
they're like, "Oh, did you catch the game?" And you're like, "Ah, shit."
Yeah. Or they want to record. Like it's not bad, but there's just when we're together, there's just so many other things that we kind of like to prioritize,
right?
And so I kind of put that aside. But yeah, I mean it varies.
Yeah. So going forward, again, we talk about this space, we talk about the work you've done. Going forward, the next year or so, where do you see yourself going? Where do you want to go?
Man,
it's a loaded question, but
Yeah, well, I like to be in a better situation, with a little bit more freedom.
Got it.
To really, really I guess, go all in. Because I'm invested, but this is not number one for me.
Sure.
And for various reasons, but it doesn't take anything away from it. I'm still here. I'm still grinding and all that, dedicated, invested in all that stuff. But in order for me to go all in, it has to be at the right time. And we say that shit, right? But it's like sometimes you got to take that leap of faith, right?
That's true.
Unless you got to just go for it. But I mean, in a year from now, I'd like to be in that situation, and I'm going after sync placements, so that's something that I hope by then is a constant thing with like video games, movies, TV shows, shit like that, because I feel like the streaming side of things is slow. You can't really bank on that. I mean, unless you get a hit and then it takes off. Then obviously, but it's just so saturated that it's tough. It takes a long time. So I feel like going that route is probably the best for now, and that just gives me something to look forward to. Gives me some goals and different ways to go after them. So.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up, like talking about scores for movies, scores for TV shows, different things like that. He probably don't mind me saying this, but I remember when I spoke about the group I was in before we started recording. And when we were recording a couple of songs for our mixtape at Brisk's studio, I remember he was saying like, "Oh, I just got this check from I want to say it was like Bones, remember the TV show Bones on TNT?"
Oh, yep.
And I was like, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "Yeah, I did a couple of episodes, just did the music on it." And I was like, "Holy shit!" Like,
you could do that
at that age. Not even thinking about that. Like, I'm just sitting there thinking, Brisk just makes beats all day
at home,
what I'm saying? And then DJs at clubs. And I was like, "Wow, that's really interesting." Because every time that episode plays, you then get paid. Depending on what your agreements are with these different things.
Of course.
I don't know what it's like nowadays because I think that was 09-ish. But I'd assume it's very similar. You know what I mean? So it's like. Yeah, if you can break into other commercials or what have you, you know what I mean? There's all these doors that can keep the lights on, you know what I'm saying? Exactly. Until you're able to get that hit, or those string of hits or whatever it may be. So, I think you can do it, man. It's just, and I understand from a creative aspect, you need that thing to keep the lights on. So that regular job that you have, you have to do it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Until you can find a way to make this your job.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's just putting in after hours work and all that shit.
It takes a lot, but it's like the tunnel is getting shorter. And luckily for us, we've been able to work with some artists that have also gave us some gems and kind of told us how and kind of showed us the way. One of them was Demrick. I don't know if you know who he is. Shout out Demrick. He's the one that...
I'll show you a picture later. 2009, we opened up for Cypress Hill.
Oh, shit.
Or excuse me, Be Real on his Smile Now.
That was early, Demrick.
Yeah, and Young D was his name at the time. I remember.
So shout out him because he's the one that... He does that. Obviously under a different name and all that stuff, but he's the one that kind of was like, "Yo, like this is where it's at," So it's like I could sit here and make beats for days and years, and it ain't gonna be nothing if I don't make something out of it, right? So it's like okay, and then we met Dizzy Wright, and he kind of gave us some gems too, and he touched on that, and so it was like, dude, like, what are we doing? Like, let's do it, So that's kind of something that it's on our minds, and so hopefully we're able to score on that.
Yeah, I would say just keep pushing it, keep following those words of wisdom, but also, you have your ultimate goal in mind of what you want to do, but to find your way there. And you never know who you're going to run into, what I mean? Like working in this, like, being able to meet Demrick or Dizzy, or let's say you get a placement in a commercial, that person who places you may know somebody else and like, oh, who did that? And then it just opens up doors. It's just constantly I always say this. You always have to put your best foot forward, even like with this podcast shit, right?
Yeah.
Like this is ultimately what I would like to do, something like this, right? But always putting your best foot forward because you never know who's watching. And now you might have like
that's true.
low plays, you know what I'm saying? Not many people listen, not many people watch it, but one person that did could influence your future.
Right, yeah. Exactly. That's very, very true. You never know who's watching. Even when you do a show with like 5-10 people, you never know who that one over there in the corner might be.
Yep.
And
you just got to give it your all.
Yeah, exactly. Every time. And you never know, right? And so that's how I think a lot of things happen in this type of business or industry as relationships. They go a long way, you know, so never burn your bridges and you know, be yourself and be true to who you are and what you believe in, and let everything else just play out.
Yep. I'm finding that like the older I get, so I work in the tech industry, right? I won't say exactly where, but like I see that too. Like it's the same story no matter the industry. It depends on who you know. And because you could be the hardest working person, and if you don't have a good relationship with the people that can get you to where you need to be, it doesn't matter.
You're just gonna be
You're
like
just
a hamster in the wheel.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
nowhere.
Yeah, keeping those good relationships, always trying to do the best you can, put your best shit forward, and
the
just,
right thing. Yeah,
and believe that it's going to happen. I think that's the other
definitely.
thing too.
That's huge. You gotta believe it, because I was talking to Dre the other day, and he's like, you know, we touched on that, on how people will doubt you. People will say, "Oh, you can't do that." People say, "Oh, you're crazy," you know. And it's like, at the end of the day, if you believe it, that's all that matters. And you know, until you begin and you start trying and doing it, then it's gonna be like, oh, okay, you know, that repetition, it'll be like, it will assure you of that.
Yeah, it's just like you said, you know what I mean? Like you talked about your early beats, and you're like, yeah, they weren't that good,
No.
you know.
No.
But now to look where you're at and where you can still go, you know what I mean? There's always room for growth, but
always,
yeah,
you got to give yourself room to grow. Yeah,
we're going to get into some rapid fire questions. And again, I told you before, the rapid fire, they're not really rapid fire. You know what I mean? You can take as long as you want. The first one's always it's like a layup, you know, not too crazy. So you have 24 hours to live. What's your last meal?
Oh, man. That's a tough one. Well...
And it can be a number of things, you know what I mean? Like I've had people say the lamest shit, like, oh, I just want like a quarter pounder. And I'm like, for your last meal? But then I had people go into like, oh, I'm just taking a bite of everything. And they named like 12 different things.
Like a buffet?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably best. Yeah, I would probably have several items at my request. You know, shrimp and lobster for sure. A steak. Why not a Coke? You know. Well, it's probably. I'll have a beer instead. We'll scratch out the Coke. Yeah, fuck it.
couple beers
too. Yeah, I would probably say that.
Okay. Some steak, shrimps, lobster, Coke,
and some tacos.
Tacos. Yeah. You got a lot of protein in there, but it don't matter.
Yeah, it's all good. Yeah.
All right. Stranded on an island. You can only listen to 3 albums for a year. What are those 3 albums?
For a year.
Could be any genre too. Doesn't necessarily have to be hip hop, but whatever.
Oh, it's got to be hip hop.
Well, yeah. I mean, for me, that's what,
It could be many things, but no, it's got to be. And just because I've done it, so I would say Reasonable Doubt for sure. Damn. The Chronic. I enjoyed this one, so I'm gonna throw this one in there. The Roots, Tipping Point.
Okay, yeah. Yep.
I would say
that's great.
That would get me through.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think I'm a huge Jay fan? Like that's my favorite all time, right?
Same.
Reasonable Doubt is probably my favorite album, but I don't know if it's his best album. What are your thoughts?
I think that was okay. As a rapper, as a lyrical standpoint and delivery and all that, I think Reasonable Doubt Jay-Z is the best version of Jay-Z, but not his best album.
Yeah.
I would maybe say either the Black Album or one of the Blueprints. But for me, I think the Black Album was a time in his career where he was like solidified like himself as the greatest rapper or the best rapper.
Man, when that Black Album came out, because that, he was retiring at that point. I was a senior in high school, and I was like, fuck. Right. I was so bummed. But I remember buying it and just being like, because I mean, he's got production wise, Rick Rubin, he's got Kanye, Quick,
Timbaland,
Just Blaze, Timbaland. Like, there's so many great producers on that. And then the songs are just, Oh, Pharrell too, obviously.
Pharrell,
but yeah, Reasonable Doubt's probably my favorite. But just the thing I love about Reasonable Doubt is I feel like he was just in there to try to do, like you said, on the lyrical side, it's his best. Well, goddamn, it's there, it's close, yeah. But I was listening to an interview with Clark Kent, and Clark was like, he did a lot of the, not necessarily production. He produced a few things, but was there to record most of the album, right? Okay. And he was saying that when they went in there, they weren't like, okay, this is the single. They were trying to make every song just like possible to be put out, right? Like everything was just trying to be their best. So,
it shows. It translates. You know,
I was listening to it on the way here.
Yeah, it really does, bro. When you approach it with that in mind, it shows. It translates. And with what you said, I can see that.
Yeah, they just did the book of Jay-Z.
I seen
at
that.
Is it Brooklyn Library?
I think so.
Yeah,
super dope.
Yeah, very cool. Okay, favorite movie.
Ooh.
And if you have a couple, like if you have like, this is my favorite drama, this is my favorite. Like, I'm a big horror head, right? So if you have
how you feel about those?
Oh, I love it. Yeah, I noticed right when I walked in.
Yeah. I like horror movies. But I would say Scarface was big. Goodfellas, that type of stuff. And for like scary movies, the Halloween stuff was good.
Yeah, that's my favorite.
I do not like what was that, Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy Krueger. I wasn't really into that because he'll kill you in your sleep. There's no getting away from that guy. You know what I mean? Either way, you're fucked.
Yeah.
So
that's one of those movies you can't take any extracurricular substances watching it, because then you start to really think about it and you're
out,
like,
dude.
No.
Yeah, bad idea. So I would say those.
Okay. All right, your dream collab. So obviously you're doing the beat, right? Give me someone to do the hook and then someone to do the verses.
Oh shit. That's interesting. I'm gonna stick with it. I've said it a couple times now. Wiz Khalifa on the verse. On the hook. Ooh. Bruno Mars.
Oh shit. Okay. All right. I like that.
Why not?
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah. I know you're a hoops fan, you're a jazz fan. Give me, we'll stick to we'll do whole NBA.
Okay.
Give me your all-time starting five. So this doesn't necessarily mean the best, but your favorite players. So I need a point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, center.
Okay. Ooh. Okay. So at center, let's see. Tim Duncan. At power forward, this is tough, but I'm gonna rock with KG. Kevin Garnett,
my favorite. Yeah.
At small forward, oof, damn, that's tough.
There's a lot. Yeah, that's packed.
Yeah. Tracy McGrady. I think he was a small forward. I'm not sure, but we'll go with that. Shooting guard, damn, Kobe. Well, I dislike Michael, but
As a jazz fan, you dislike him, yeah.
Fuck. But given everything, I'll go with Kobe. Okay. I'll go with Kobe.
Yeah.
Point guard, Stockton.
Okay.
That's my starting five.
Yeah, that's tough.
I think it's pretty. I think
Stockton,
it'll
Kobe,
beat a
Tracy,
lot of
KG,
other
and
teams.
Tim. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
They'll hold their own.
Yeah, they'll be fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay. If you could go in the studio for one day with any producer, right? So I'm talking about the top producers of all time. But you're just going in with one. To observe, to ask questions, just to kind of like soak it in, right? Who would it be?
Who would it be? That's really tough. Probably Pharrell. Just because I feel like he's very he just seems like a cool guy, a genuine person. He seems very hands-on with what he does. His style is crazy. And he can kind of hit you from different angles. Like it's always, sure, he's got his signature sound and you always recognize Pharrell, but he can also hit you again from different angles, like doing the Minions movie stuff, you know, working with many different artists, not just rappers. I feel like he's one of the better producers ever. So I would say Pharrell.
I think so too. I think his versatility, like obviously when it was the Neptunes, R&B, a lot of hip hop, obviously, but he branched out so far to different artists. But can still come back and do something in hip hop where you're like, damn,
dude. Yeah. So after everything he's done, right, he kind of goes off and kind of goes MIA, I guess, or he kind of goes quiet. But then he drops that album with Pusha T and Kanye. Oh my God! And it was just grimy. It was just like, holy shit, you know. And it's like you tend to forget how hood he is actually, right? And so
how he can just like make that soundtrack of just the poppiest shit to again just like the most grimy
So when I heard that I was like, oh man. And then the mix between him and Kanye, it was you could tell, but it went well together, and with Pusha T is just super dope. So yeah,
I agree. Before we started recording, we were talking about buying albums and like even the DVDs that would come along with it sometimes. So I bought, this was right after, I think I had just turned 19 maybe, but this was the Neptunes Present the Clones album. And so they had the clips on there. They had all kinds of artists and rock groups, but they had a DVD that came with that. And I just remember watching that DVD over and over again, and him and Chad making beats just in this, and you know, that was probably filmed in like 04-ish. Yeah. So it's a lot of like still like analog shit too. Yeah. I remember Chad saying, I bought this whole board. It was this whole like a size of a wall. He's like, and all I do is unplug this shit, plug it into here, and it makes different noise. And then it comes into here, all these different inputs.
It's crazy.
And I'm like, man, these dudes just love what they do. You know, and they're so good at it. But yeah, I'm with you, Pharrell.
Chad, I feel like Chad kind of deserves more credit also. I do too. I feel like Pharrell is the face of the Neptunes. But Chad was behind a lot of those records. Yeah, and he's won ASCAP Writer of the Year, all of that different stuff. Yeah. And the thing with him is, from the interviews I've seen, he's very introverted and very awkward. So I think that's why you don't see him out. Maybe. You know what I mean? Right. It makes sense. Pharrell is so natural. Right. Talking and you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Dudes look the same for the last 30 years. It was like
Rump
vampire
Shaker
and
looked
shit.
the same
Rump
then as
Shaker.
he did, you know,
man. That's true.
Last year, yeah. All right, last question here. And this is one that I always put in here, and sometimes people get judged off it, so you can take as much time as you want. So you're throwing your dream concert. Okay. You get 4 acts, dead or alive. I need to know who the acts are, but then also know the order that they're going to come out. Okay.
Dream concert.
And again, this is for you. This isn't like, hey, I'm trying to sell tickets. This is your dream concert. But again, you still get judged on it. So it's like
I'm putting it together?
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. Dead or alive. Oh, shit. Well, we can go many different ways, but we'll put Tupac in there.
Okay.
We'll see in which order, but
yeah.
Tupac. Let's see. Oh shit. Let's throw Kanye in there.
Mm-hmm.
I think he'd be dope to see live. Who else? 4?
4. Yep.
Oh man. I'd like to see Twista.
Okay.
I grew up listening to him. So he was a big part of my influences growing up.
He puts on a pretty solid show because I mean his catalog is so deep.
I'm sure he can, yeah. Shit. 4. Let's see. Mobb Deep.
Oof. Okay. I love that. What's the order?
So we'll have this is awkward because Tupac will be in there, but
yeah,
we'll go with
skinny motherfuckers got sickle cell.
We'll go with we'll go with Mobb Deep first.
Okay.
And then the other one was
you had Twista, Pac, and Kanye.
Okay. We'll go with okay, we'll do this. So we'll go with Twista, Mobb Deep, Kanye, and then Pac. So we'll have Pac as the headliner.
Closing it out. Perfect.
And that'll be a very long show.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Kanye and Pac themselves. You know what I mean? I saw Kanye, I've seen him twice.
Have you?
I saw him at his graduation tour.
No way.
So it was him headlining. Lupe Fiasco was on it,
Okay.
NERD and Rihanna.
Ooh, NERD.
Yeah, and
Oh shit.
Kanye was, his shows are like,
And that was like
that was fucking
like Kanye at his highest point in a sense where, well, maybe not highest.
I think highest is in terms of sales and popularity, like to the masses.
Mhm.
That's right when his mother passed.
Right.
So it was, after that, you kind of saw people not fuck with him because he started to do crazy shit.
Right. Yeah. After that, yeah.
You know, he came out with My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, which is I think is my favorite Kanye album, and I love all of well, let me be clear. My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy and everything before I love. Some of the shit he did after, I was kind of like, it was whatever. But,
questioning,
But his shows, man, they're like it's not a concert. It's a whole production. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
And then I saw him and Jay in Vegas for the Watch the Throne tour.
Ooh,
and that was just 3 hours of them.
Oh my God.
Doing like their best songs, and they would throw in a part of Watch the Throne, their best songs, part of Watch the Throne, back and forth.
Man, how could I forget Jay-Z?
Bro, I didn't want to say anything. You can do Watch the Throne, right?
Let's say Twista couldn't make it, okay? We'll have Jay.
Twista got sick.
We'll have Jay do.
Jay.
Yeah, we'll have Jay come do Watch the Throne.
You know what I mean? It's a lot of a lot of troubles there.
So we'll do that. We'll replace Twista with Jay just for this one time.
Yeah.
That I bet that was insane though. I mean, to be there live.
Yeah, that was the best concert I've been to. Like,
oh man,
Kendrick
3
was
hours?
Really close. Yeah, 3 hours is just them.
Holy shit!
Because remember, Frank Ocean was supposed to open. This is like early Frank Ocean. And he never came out. We were like, because I was like, fuck, this show's supposed to. And I know hip hop shows start late.
Yeah.
I've been to so many. I've been on so many. But I was like, okay, now this is getting crazy. And then they came out and just.
Oh, man.
Like, damn. But yeah, outside of, I mean, the only person that got close to that was Kendrick when he came. When I saw him live, the Big Steppers tour.
Uh-huh.
That was a big production as well. But outside of that, I've never seen shows like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But,
Yeah. That's super dope.
yeah. Thank you, man. This has been a lot
Hey,
of fun. Been good getting
it's
to know
fun.
you a little bit
Of
more.
course,
I mean,
thank
me and
you.
you have DM back and forth hip hop shit.
Yeah.
You know, like just
Yeah.
talking like, who do you think should be on this list or whatever,
Yeah,
you know? So
yeah.
I appreciate getting to know you a little bit more.
Yeah, man, of course.
Before
Thank
we
you.
go, let everyone know where they can find you, how they could, if they want to come and book time at this space,
Yeah.
how they can do that.
Okay. Well, yeah, everyone can find me under Looney Got Da Tunez on all social media platforms. And if you want to come check out the spot, you can visit labjunkiesinc.com. And it will show you the place, the different rates that are available. So yeah, check it out.
Perfect.
Hit me up.
Yeah, I'll have all those links in the podcast description as well. So
Awesome.
cool, man. Thank you very much. I appreciate you.
I appreciate your time. This was fun.